I'm Lynn.
And I'm Leo. Welcome back to our channel, Yoga with Lin and Leo. If you like the channel, please do subscribe to it. And if you like the video, please do click on the thumbs up button.
Yes, and welcome to day 11 of our Get Up and Go series. If you're just joining us today, then stand in the centre of your mat. We're coming for Uttanasana. So Leo's going to demonstrate this pose with the feet slightly apart. Now in the last couple of days we've been practicing Padangusthasana and Parahastasana. Now we're coming for Uttanasana. Now the classic pose is with the legs together, which makes it very strong, quite an extreme action. So if you find that there's stiffness in the body, then you can take the legs wider, even to the outer edges of the mat. This works very, very well. So if you know that actually the hinging action comes, it is a little bit difficult, a little bit rusty, then have the legs this wide, otherwise hip width apart. Okay, see that you stand in a nice Tadasana. Put your hands onto your pelvic ribs and lift the organic body up towards your chest. Keep this action, keep this lengthening, keep the energy going up out of the pelvis. Hinge forward. Be in this position, lift your abdomen, lift your thighs, lift your legs, placing your hands down towards the floor. So we're coming for Adho Mukha Svanasana. So many of you who have joined us will know this pose by now. Well, you will know the name of it, dog pose. So either jump or step your legs back for Adho Mukha Svanasana. So if you feel that that is a step too far, then just step your legs back. That's absolutely fine. You can see that Leo will demonstrate that action now. Good. When you're here and you're stepping back into this action, make sure that you're grounding down with those palms and extending through those arms. Make sure that the elbows are nicely locked. Then lifting through the center of the body, abdomen towards your spine, and then keeping the weight back into the legs. Very important instruction. Push those thighs back, push the shins back, and open the back of the calves. Extend the soles of the feet strongly. So eventually we're looking to get the heels down, but before that happens, we've got to make sure that the legs are going back first. Come back for Uttanasana, jump or step. So you can see now Leo's, well, she had her feet together, she's taking them apart again. But you can see that the feet are together in the classic pose, and if you can manage this, this is absolutely fine. It always, when you first start yoga, you find that there's tremendous action on the legs, tremendous extension through the hamstrings and the thighs. So when you're in your Uttanasana, you have to see that the main objective is building the foundation, so ground down into the soles of the feet. Lift your inner ankles, inner thighs, inner groins. Very important instructions. Lift your abdomen towards your spine, and then lengthen all the way through towards the collarbones. Collarbones extending forward and beyond. Keep those actions. Then if you're able to, you can take your hands towards the sides of the feet. Now there are alternative options, as we said, as we've mentioned in the previous videos. So if you know that this is a step too far for you, then don't worry, you can take your hands onto a support. You can take your hands onto a chair, no problem. Or you can put your hands onto your shins, which Leo will show you here. So if you are finding these forward extensions very challenging, it's quite normal. Okay, so we're going to come out of the pose. So place your fingers towards your hips. Keep your abdomen drawing in, lengthen through your front chest, and stand up. Good. Well done. Just take a few breaths now. So that's a really nice way, again, to warm up the body. We're coming for one of the Pavarita actions, Pavarita Parsvakonasana. And this is very challenging, so we're going to practice a modified version of this pose. So Leo's going to show you, we've got some foam blocks here, which we're going to use in the preparation. Okay, so kneeling on your foam block, you can use a folded blanket, this will be fine, or cushion as well. and then placing a brick or support. You can put a book there, whatever, it doesn't matter, but this is a very challenging action when you first start yoga. So taking your right leg forward, okay, and just trying to get your balance is challenging enough, so just be there. You can see that Leo's holding on to the back of the sacral area, so see that this is nice and broad and opening. It is supporting the body, and then lift up through the chest. So if you can manage your balance at this stage, we come on to the next stage. You're going to lift your left arm up, reach up so much. Remember, in some of the other previous actions, videos, we're rotating the arm towards the ear. It goes this way. And then turning. You see Leo just showed you that really nice little action with the ribs. You're going to imagine they're rings and they're spinning round towards your twisting action. And then if you're able to, hook your arm. So sometimes this can be quite challenging to hook any further than this. But Leo's going to go deeply into the action now, so you can see here. So the most important thing now is to lift out of your pelvis and challenge those lower back muscles. You've got to see that you're getting that twisting action and fulcrum and traction in the action. And then placing the hand either to the floor or to a brick. Okay, so once you're steady in this action, you can reach into your back leg. So we're going to complete this action, pushing into your back heel, and see if you can straighten your leg. Good. Keep the weight even between the front and back leg. Roll the shoulder back and down. And if you're able to at this stage, you can take the arm over the ear. You want to see that you keep that turning, keep that opening. Okay, we're not going to be here for too long. And then coming back out of the closed hand, went into it, bending, coming up, keeping your balance, and bringing your legs back together into that kneeling position. So of course in the classic action it's more fluid. This is just a modified version to show you how to approach this pose. Very strong, would you say?
I would, and if you find that the final action is too much, it's fine. You can go to the first stage, work in that way for a little while, and then you can start working towards the second stage and beyond. Don't worry about the fact that, you know, for some of you, it will be quite challenging, this action. It is a very challenging pose. Most of our students find it pretty tough.
Yeah, they do, definitely. Okay, so have a go on the other side now. You can always add a chair to the prop, so you can always put your wrist onto the chair, which it would be on the outside of the thigh, like that. So extending up, keeping your balance, reaching up with your right arm this time, and getting that twisting action. These Pavarita actions are twists. They need to be treated like twists. So you've got to understand that the spinal muscles really need to move, and you can use your ribs to help the intercostal muscles, but also the soft tissue fibre to move round, to move round, to move round. Sometimes it's just stuck, and we've got to keep doing this pose to help this to get the understanding, and then reaching into the action. And again, the alternative, if you find it really too challenging to take the arm a little bit further, then of course you can just have the wrist, the back of the wrist to the thigh. And then go a little further into the pose and get that turn in action. So exactly what Leo was saying, that you know, it may be this stage, this is where you're at, this is where you're managing, and you can keep your balance. Otherwise, place your right hand down onto the floor and see that you lift your abdomen. Your abdomen needs to lift, draw back also towards the spine side, and reach into that back leg. So see if you can lift that heel, that knee off of the foam block and push back into your heels, so you're getting this action. And this is when you start to rotate the spine. Sometimes it's very difficult, there's stiffness in the body, and you go for the classic pose. You don't feel or sense any direction. So this is a really good starting point to practice. Okay, and then coming out of the pose.
And it's do the arm.
Release. Oh yeah, I forgot about the arm. All right, she's doing such a nice action there. So arm up and over if you're able to. Sorry about that, Leo. That's lovely. and extending all the way through to the fingers. So it may be that you practice more on the preparation, and then when you come into the pose you're not there so long. And that does change, as I've explained before. Releasing out of the pose, coming back into the kneeling position. Good. And coming out of the pose completely. Okay, so fairly challenging, fairly challenging. Lovely posing in our future videos. We will go through the classic pose without the prop work. So for those of you who move really well, then we will be going through some of those instructions. And Leo's really looking forward to that.
I'm rather hoping Lynn's going to be demonstrating that one. Okay.
All right, so we're coming for Supine. So
you need a belt.
Yes, yes, we do. You do need a belt. Leo's starting with the legs bent, so just to really soften the back from the previous pose. But now we're going to come for a bent leg into the chest. And when you bend the leg into the chest, you need to make sure that you get the opposite leg rounded, so your left leg needs to be extending away like this. It's always handy to have your foot to the wall to start with, or your heel to the wall to start with. And just be there for a few moments. Really important to extend this outer hip, the outer hip towards the end of the mat. So you might need to lift your buttock a bit and pull the leg this way. Yeah, it gets a little bit caught up. The soft tissue fibre gets a little bit ruffled underneath the back there. And then you're going to go for the belt, placing the belt around the leg. So you can use a belt, or you can use a tie, or you can use even a towel, that would be fine. So coming into Supine 1. Now, this leg needs, although Leo's taken a little bit further than 90 degrees, it needs to come to 90 degrees. Yeah. And this leg needs to go down, which is extending and grounding the action. The thigh needs to go back, all of this needs to work before you can actually get into the hinge itself. Otherwise you start moving the soft tissue fibre in the wrong direction, the symmetry goes. So it's really good to be at this stage. You can practice this for as long as you wish to, or you can practice it several times. So we're going to release out of the pose now. And coming back to neutral, extending that spine, extending the left leg towards the chest and straightening the right leg. Really nice way of working. And again, if you've got a wall, you can press your heel into the wall. Make sure this grounded leg, this lower leg, is absolutely grounded. The inner thigh is moving deeply down. And you can see that Leo is hooking her thumb into the crease of the thigh and encouraging that action to extend towards the end of the mat. Very important. Okay, when you're ready, get your belt and place the belt around the foot and extend the foot up to 90 degrees. And again, see that it is 90 degrees and no further, and keep reaching that thigh around. This action, this needs to happen. So quickly, the soft tissue fibre will change the direction of the symmetry, so you have to teach it to move with the structure. It takes a little time. This grounded leg, lower leg, needs to move down strongly. Pull up the kneecap. Just want to mention, if there is a lot of stiffness in the legs, and we find this quite a lot, especially with athletes, that this is no way can some people get their leg to this 90-degree angle, so you may need to come to here. You may need to come to here. You've got to see that this leg becomes straight. And we will be showing you options to be able to practice and improve your pose later on in some of the future videos.
Can I just point out at this stage as well that those with more mobility will be very tempted to do that. We get a lot of students who've got more mobility in the body who will try and go too far. So resist that temptation.
Definitely, symmetry is very important. Okay, and releasing. we're going to come for Siddhasana now. This is challenging, this seated pose, if there is stiffness in the hips, but it's one of the poses that will help you to get more agility and fluidness within the hip region. So you may need to have some foam blocks.
If you haven't got foam pads, you can sit on a bolster, a few pillows, a few folded towels or blankets. Just get a little bit of height behind you for this action.
Yes, and the best way to go into it is to just be in this position where you've got the ankles in line with one another, if that's possible. And don't worry if you find that the next bit is too challenging. You have to start here. This will be your starting point. So you're in this position. And the next stage is to lift that front leg and to place the ankles on top of one another. So you get to here. And we find in the studio that there's a lot of students who find this very challenging. You know, and it doesn't get to this stage, so don't worry. Now, the next stage is to just tuck the toes between the lower leg muscles, so the back of the thigh and the back of the calf. So being in this position. Being in this position, you can sit in this position if it's nice and comfortable, and you can sit here for as long as you wish to. We're going to show you the other side now, so just releasing and coming to the other side.
Do support your ankle when you come out if you've got your toes tucked away.
Yes, and some of you may need to stretch your legs out in between into Dandasana. So Dandasana is when we stretch the legs straight out in front of you. It's a really good way to come to the other side. And ankles, one in front of the other. And if this is the stage you're coming to and that's it, fine.
And it may be that your knees are lifting at this stage. If they're lifting but you've got no discomfort in your knees, you can move yourself a little bit forwards on your support to see if you can get some lift through the chest, which may allow the legs to release down. It may not, and you may be sitting like this, and that's fine. That's just where you are at the moment. You just work on getting this elongation. But if you're here, then you can put the heels on top of one another and maybe tuck the toes away. But you can see that this lift gives me, with my stiffer hips than Lin, a lot more lift, a lot more potential for opening. For me, I still like to place my hands behind to get the lift through the chest. If you're able to maintain that lift, then place the hands. But don't sit like this.
So when you're learning the poses, you're just unfolding some of the areas that are holding you so tightly in the body. So just go to each stage, don't worry about the final action. And this is the end of our sequencing now. So you can stay in this pose, or you can come into Sukhasana to finish with.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Namaste.